Do we have any need for a non-public session to start off the meeting? Nope. Nope. Good. So we'll start off with opening public comment. Anybody like to state your name? Turn the mic on for you.
Hi. I was here in December asking for a teacher's contract and the steps in the experience. And I thank the SAU for putting, Dr. Konopsky got everything to me pretty quickly. And then Linda Osborne had to track some things down, and she worked very hard at getting information to me, so I thank them. I've taken the contract and each teacher and looked at how the pay scale, the new pay scale would affect the current teachers versus new teachers coming in. And if I can stop for a second and ask for you to think for a minute if this were you, and I think Shane might be able to think of this maybe more than some of you. If you were someone, let's see, new people are going to be hired at the police department. Pay is based on same training, same schooling, and yet somebody coming in would be making between $1,000 and $9,000 more than you coming in because you had been there and they were coming in new. That's what the teacher's contract is doing for the teachers that are here. Next year under this contract, a first-year teacher who this year is in step 0 will be next year be on step 1. But a new teacher coming in with no experience will also be on step 1. So there's going to be about $1,000 difference in their pay, the same experience of, same experience, but $1,000 difference. Go to year 2. Looking at the teachers that we have now versus the next one, new step would be, again, step 2 versus step 3, because we're not giving them credit because of the 0 leaving. The difference would be between $1,000 and $2,500 for each of those teachers. I have some more examples, but I also have some sheets. I don't know. I've put everybody on a paper. I don't know if you want me to pass them out. I can make them available to anybody who wants them. That just spells it out, and then it's a summary sheet. So that's up to you guys.
You can hand them out. I'd be happy to look at them, yeah.
Okay. You want me to do it right now so you have something to refer to?
You can just give it to us
Okay.
after.
Okay.
Got about a minute left, by the way.
Okay, then I'll just give you a couple more examples. A teacher with 9 years of experience. There's one teacher on step 4 right now with 9 years of experience, and there are 2 teachers on step 5 with 9 years of experience. A new hire is going to come in on step 10. The difference in those pay is between $7,500 and $9,000. From the current staff that we have now to a new person coming in, they will be, a new person not having ever stepped foot in this school before will be getting between $7,500 and $9,000 more if they come in with 9 years of experience. This information I feel is discouraging for the staff as they look at these numbers. They've stuck through many years of no pay increases, and yet they remain at this school. I know the time and effort they put in.
I'm going to have to ask you to finish up.
Yep. The time and effort that I can finish at the end if you want, or I can just do it now. I have about a minute more.
Your 3 minutes is up, so you're...
All right, I'll finish it at the end
Sure,
if you want.
that'd be fine. There's another comment period then. Yep. Anyone else like to speak? Any other board members like to take this opportunity to address the board? Okay. We're going to close the public comment and move on to school board business with the approval of minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of January 5th.
I'll second that. Any discussion on these? I do have one thing, one of the votes in the, sorry, I didn't write down the number. The principal's report. So,
Like 173 or something, maybe?
that's it. I don't recall abstaining on that vote. I think the motion passed 5-0 if I remember correctly.
Oh,
Unless somebody else may have abstained, but I did not.
What motion? What?
This is the motion for
okay,
authorizing the
line
fundraising activities.
173.
Sorry, what?
On line 173 in the minutes, the motion authorizing the fundraising activities.
Oh.
Could we correct Adrian's last name? It's Alford. A-L-F-O-R-D.
What is it?
Alford, A-L-F-O-R-D.
You just gave him a whole new.
Oh,
Significant difference. Any other corrections or comments on the minutes? All in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. We do have non-public minutes as well. On page 10.
Motion to approve the non-public minutes, January 5th.
I'll second that. Any discussion on these? Seeing none, all in favor of approving non-public minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to Business Administrator's Report.
Good evening. My report begins on page 11. In regards to the revenues, everything that we've received to date has been recorded. Currently, the bottom line unspent is $328,000. We had a meeting with Jocelyn, Adrian, Bob, Ed, and Scott. We all feel comfortable where we are currently. Typically, we wait till the end of the year. When the teachers are gone, they do their purchase orders, and Jocelyn signs them during the summer. And a lot of them will be like for expenses that are like reimbursable, but they'll put the vendor to Walmart. And we spend a lot of time at the end of the year trying to go through those and making sure we don't owe anybody money. So with the new bookkeeper we have on staff, we're actually going through those now and trying to figure out if there's anybody that wants those supplies that we've already encumbered and they need to be reimbursed for them and so forth, as opposed to waiting to the end of the year and trying to close one year and begin the other, and to give you guys a better look at where we'll be at the end of the year. So right now, that's what we're working on. In regards to the budget, after last week's hearing, I am currently in the process of preparing the MS-27. I do have some questions. Their pre-review of the warrant articles are, for the most part, done, but I have to wait until tonight for the other votes and everything to make sure everything's sound, so I can resubmit those tomorrow. The Budget Committee did sign, I believe, and they still have it, the MS-27 form, but I still have to wait for it tonight to make sure nothing's going to change and make sure those figures are correct. And I have questions for the DRA. Our representative is on vacation through tomorrow, so she'll be back on Monday when I'm hoping to get our answers, and the other person that I typically contact was out sick today. So I tried getting all that information so it would be done by the end of the week, but so hopefully they'll have it by the early next week, and it needs to be posted by the 30th. So I think we're looking good in regards to not waiting until last minute. So.
Does anybody have any questions on the monthly financial review?
I do.
Go for it.
So on your highlights, expenses, currently the bottom line unspent is $328,646. And you said you and Ms. Young feel comfortable with that?
Where we are right now,
Yep.
as we go forward, so for like next month, I'll do that anticipated column, because there's certain stuff we cannot encumber right now, such
Yep.
as like graduation expenses, printing of the district report. We don't have that information yet, so we're gonna go through at the next meeting and start to anticipate what we're going to spend by the end of
Okay.
by the end of the year.
We've had,
So-
we've had conversations about trying to close out purchase orders by April 1st this year. It's tough to get that, I mean, we've got so much money encumbered that it's tough to get a tight number early. So we're trying to close out purchase orders by April 1st, and then obviously there's going to be some after that but it'll allow us to, like, let's take special education, we always have that lag of getting vendors to bill us in so we can get an accurate number. So we're going to try to get a tighter number earlier this year than give us a little added time those last month and a half.
That would be nice. So, comma, and the 90,000 has been taken out and sent to the trustees for the capital reserve funds. So where did the 90,000 come from?
Comes from last year's surplus.
Okay, so it came out of the, because it's in the
comes-
same, my problem here is it's in the same line as our current year. Currently, the bottom line unspent is 328,646, comma, and the 90,000 has been taken out. So you didn't take it out of this year.
Yes.
You did take it out of this year.
It's from last year's surplus, but it gets expensed in this year. So when we go through the warrant articles that we just voted on, if you look at them, the wording actually says to come from the surplus from 6/30, but to be funded July 1st. So that DOE report that's due September 1st, I wait until that report is done before we fund those warrant articles, only for the fact that it says, okay, so this is your unassigned fund balance, but we're going to take $90,000 out of that to go to the capital reserve fund balances, so it doesn't affect the surplus.
So it's almost as if the entire surplus was carried over from last year. 90,000 goes to this, to the capital reserve funds, and then the rest goes back to the town.
So you have your surplus, but then we subtracted that out, as well as the 2.5 retention that we do. So both of those get subtracted out before we return it to the town. It always shows up on the DOE reports, it always shows up on the DRA reports. I'm showing them right now for the MS-27 that I'm preparing for the budget committee. And then they do a weird thing too, which is why I'm calling them, because they record it as an expense, but they also record it as a revenue. So that's one of my questions for them, because I calculated what their estimated revenues were for next year. And their calculation on the system, because it's all automated now, is calculating that surplus, that capital reserve fund balance into the revenue.
That makes sense to me, because it evens it out, right? So it's a zero effect on this year's budget, right?
Yeah, but I don't look at it as a revenue.
It's a revenue from last
There's revenue from last year that's
Yeah,
carried
but-
over and then spent.
Right.
So those are the little things I'm trying to clean up
Yep.
with the DRA.
So
And I know
who-
we've had this discussion.
We've had this discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I just don't even see how you can talk that way, so there's no sense in talking about it. And so who do we see at DRA? Because I'm going to go drive down there and talk to them, because I just don't understand. This clearly says 25,000, I'm on the special education one, in accordance with provisions RSA 35:1-B, with such amount to be funded from year-end undesignated fund balance. Now, so that year-end is on June 30th. It's not available to July 1st. I agree with that. But it comes out of last year's budget. And I have never understood, and this goes to the heart of the argument of putting those five anywhere other than at the end, just so you can state what they are in the budget. It's an argument, I still, clearly, the town wants that money to come out of the year-end surplus on 6/30, which is available to us on July 1st.
But it's from 6/30.
Yes, it's from the 15-16 year,
Correct.
but you took it out of the 16-17 year, you're telling me.
Because that's the way, because you can't fund it until the following fiscal year. That's what that warrant article says that you just said.
It's available on July 1st. It doesn't come out of the 16-17 year. It's just
I think starting July
That-
1st, we're in the 16-17 year. I mean,
Yes, July 1st, we're in 16, 17 year. It's available then,
Right.
but, I don't know. Who do we talk to in DRA?
So our
Jeannie
representative.
Sams is long gone. I know.
Yep, Jeannie Sams is gone. Our representative there is Michelle Clark.
Thank you. Michelle Clark.
And when I can't get her, I contact Jamie Dow. And Jamie's the one that actually goes, I believe, to like all the courses and conferences
Dow,
throughout the state.
DOW.
Huh? DOW, yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
anything else? I have a question about the revenue too as well. A different question though. The adequacy grant we get is based on the number of students we have in school or number of students we have in the district?
It's a crazy calculation that I can print from you, possibly from the DOE website.
I guess my main question was, do we get credit for adequacy money for high school students or just elementary school students?
I don't believe our adequacy is high school. I believe ours is just elementary.
Just the elementary and
Based
whatever?
on, yep.
Okay, and I would imagine the school building aid would be similar, right? It's this building, it's not, we don't.
So
It's
I,
this building.
yeah, I contacted them about that
Yeah.
because I thought that was somehow related to the
Yep.
bond.
Yep.
And so I thought now that the bond was paid off, that would go away. But the person at the state gave me that information and she said we still have it for next year. So I'll reach out
At least for
again.
next year, yeah, yeah.
And I made sure that I had it in writing, in an email, so in case they come back next year and say that we don't have it.
Yeah. So for the adequacy money though, so Co-Brown would probably file for adequacy aid on their
I
own?
would think so. I can find out for you.
Okay, no, I'm just curious, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a huge deal, but just trying to figure out where the money comes from and goes to, so.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I had.
I just, honestly, Keith, I just get a report from them
Yep.
that tells me exactly, not exactly, how much they plan on funding us for the adequacy aid as well as the local education tax. So I typically just get those amount, and your local is actually built into your district assessment amount.
Okay,
So, and those can actually be found on the tax rate, all of those figures, and they just give it to me, so I just plug it in. So I've never gone through the analysis of figuring it out, but I can ask them.
Are the formulas available on some, like, state form, or are they?
I can forward you the spreadsheet that they send me. I can forward you the whole packet. We get a whole packet from the DOE that
Okay.
has every school and everything. It's on a 16-page.
If you don't mind forwarding me, that's
Yeah,
fine.
no,
I
that's
may
fine.
not understand it or be able to
Yeah,
take a look at it, but,
Maybe we can figure it out together.
yeah.
But I'll find out if it includes high school.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for our business administrator while she's here? I assume she's, you probably have to stay today. Oh, you. All right. Seeing nothing else, we'll move on to the principal's report.
Good evening. So I provided you with a facilities update. I do have information on the roof. The roof was leaking over the hallway by the nurse's office and leaking into my office. It's been repaired. It was not covered under warranty as we thought it would be because it was due to a hole in the roof versus a fault in a seam. So it was a $500 bill. They discounted it $200, so we paid $300 to fix it. We're still waiting for the front walkway handrail to be fixed, as you may have noticed when you came in. Dr. Kavanaugh provided a separate report that I'll reference in a moment. And then the third item in my report is a pretty extensive list of all of the fantastic things that Adrian and I, as well as the building leadership team members, have observed and heard over the last several weeks. Two of the things that you'll see referenced in here a lot are depth of knowledge, or DOK, and learning targets. So I also provided some information on those two things. We're really pushing students understanding the purpose of what they're learning and having a clear goal in mind for the end of the lesson. Also having success criteria as part of that so that they know what success looks like, and so they can sort of engage in some self-assessment. that is supported by research, that that's a really effective strategy to use to promote learning. Also provided a brief update on our 8th grade trip. We do have, I believe, 13 students who opted not to go on the overnight, so we are offering a day trip option for the Saturday of the trip. And that letter is either has gone out or is going out tomorrow to the families whose kids are not participating on the overnight. And then Summersworth Target donated a $100 gift card for us. And Adrian and I would like to use that for playground equipment. And then probably the most important thing in here is a summer program expansion proposal. We have a fair amount of Title I money. We would like to do a bigger K-8 program. So for grades K through 5, it would be sort of a traditional reading and math intervention-based program for 12 hours a week. And then for grades 6 through 8, it would be a more STEM-based program. We are working to provide transportation. Northwood Transportation declined to provide a quote for us, which we just found out yesterday. So we will be looking to other transportation companies for a quote. So that's delaying us a little bit.
For what, I'm sorry?
For transportation, a quote,
Our bus transportation?
right, for summer.
Oh, for summer. Okay. Thank you.
So this is pretty exciting. This is a real opportunity for our kids to get some remediation over the summer, and then also for our upstairs students to get some real enrichment in STEM. So any questions on any of that before I go on to Dr. Kavanaugh's report?
Do we know what the hole was caused by in the roof?
No. Tom asked what they could be caused by. It could be caused by people walking on the roof, birds of all things. So no, we don't know
How many
what caused
people
it.
walk on the roof?
I don't know.
Thank you.
Do you have any information about the 13 8th grade students that aren't going on the trip? I'm mostly just interested, is it a financial reason that they might not be going, or is it some other reason they don't want the overnight?
I don't know. And then Dr. Kavanaugh provided her curriculum report. She is, as I believe I've said a few times, fantastic, very knowledgeable, very organized, and definitely somebody who gets things done. So she's been doing a lot with professional development with our staff. She's been participating in the building leadership team. She's been collecting samples of curriculum documents from other districts. And she's currently working with kind of a fledgling team of our teachers outside of school hours, after school, on weekends, et cetera, to start to get a draft version of curriculum documents together for reading and math for grades K through 5 in particular, and then for content areas in grades 6 through 8. So that work actually is just starting like this week. And it's a pretty good team, so I think that they will make good headway. One of the other things that she's been working on in conjunction with Marianne Nice, who's our literacy consultant, is stepping up our intervention program, our response to intervention program. That's been in place for a couple of years, and it's been doing good work. And we think that with a little bit more emphasis on use of data, and really targeting skills and understanding why the skills need to be targeted and which skills need to be targeted, that we can see even more return from that. So she and Marianne have been working on that as well, and we'll be providing some professional development on that. So that's all I have, and I am just hoping for the board to approve our use of the Target gift card for playground equipment.
Motion to approve the Target gift card for
second
playground
that.
equipment. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. My other request is to maybe look into it'd be great if all the 8th graders could get an equal opportunity there if, I don't know how to do it in a nice way, but if it's a financial issue for some people, perhaps we can find donations or something like that to help them out.
I'll work on that.
I don't know how
That's
to
a
handle
pretty
that delicately,
unusual
though.
number.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're asking. That's 26% of the class
Yeah.
is not going. That's never happened anywhere near that in the past. Even going to Washington, that's a
I was
big
gonna say, is
number.
it because it's Boston and they've
I
already
I
been
don't
to
know.
Boston and
I-
don't care to go?
I don't know, but I'm glad, I'd like to know. Bottom line is, I'd like to know what
Yeah, I
the
mean,
issue is, so that we know in the
if it's
future.
personal things and the parents just don't want them to go for an overnight,
Well,
yeah, I get that, that's fine, but.
Very high number compared to,
When are they leaving for the
it's
trip?
just 1 or 2 or 3.
June?
June 1st.
Yes, June 1st.
When are you planning on doing those professional development sessions and all that work for the RTI program?
We have a couple scheduled for the end of January and the beginning of February, specifically for grades 7 and 8.
Do you think we could get a status report on that? I'd like to hear more details about what's going on with that, maybe in February. Could we put that on the list?
And also, while we're at that too, maybe an overview of how the new programs are being rolled out in the classrooms, the Go Math, is everybody using it, and make sure we're getting our money's worth out of those things.
Can do.
Any other questions for Ms. Young? Being none, we'll move on to the monthly enrollment report.
We've got the enrollment reports on 27, 28, 29. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have. Things are fairly steady.
Thank you. All right, no questions on the enrollment report. We'll move on to our policies. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 policies in first reading. We're going into first reading. Unfortunately, we have no members of the policy committee here yet. So I don't know if you can lead us through these.
Sure. All of these are first reading. I know that they've been working hard to align them with the model policies, trying to condense some of the wording that is either out of date or just verbose with the policies. Are there any questions on particular policies?
So as far as you know, these are just basically getting them in line with the model policies. that,
Right. I know that's what they've been working on.
Seems like a lot of changes.
Yes, it does.
And these are from the model policies from.
School board.
Yeah, from the school board.
So I see on policy JLCD that it references an appendix policy JLCDR at the end. I'm just going to ask, I'm guessing you don't know the answer, but I assume that has not changed.
I don't believe it has.
Yeah.
For policy KB, in the language that's struck out, there are references to the No Child Left Behind Act. Do we know if there are other policies that reference the No Child Left Behind Act that probably now also need to be updated?
Probably.
Well, I think that's why adjusting it to the model policy with the school board association, it would take care of that. Any of the outdated, that's an example of some outdated language in the policies that you had that would be updated.
That's what I wonder, if there are others that reference that particular piece of legislation that would also.
There certainly might be, and we may find those as we go through your policies. Because if you look at that particular policy, last updated by the board 2005, so.
So I know the,
And you'll get another crack at these after we post them. They're coming back for second reading, so.
right. The only issue I have with some of these is policy KD-R. It kind of calls out particular social media sites and how they're used, and things move so fast that it seems silly to be so specific. You know, to have, I would think it would make more sense to have a general policy saying how, you know, because this is, what's gonna happen is some new things are gonna come out next year, and it's gonna be out of date already, and there's gonna be, you know, more things. If we had a policy that was a little more generic and said, you know, just laid out just the behaviors that are expected, you know, regardless of how they're implemented on each site, that would make more sense to me. Not that I have a problem with anything that's on here, but,
No, I understand that.
I think the fact that the,
oh, good, we have you here.
I just want to make sure that I understand what you're talking about. You're talking about the,
Like in
because I think I brought that up in our meeting, and
KD-R, the last page, page 4.
Yeah, like number 3, written parental release is required before posting of student photographs in district-sponsored social media.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's
something
fine.
signed at the beginning of the year?
yes.
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, stuff like that I think is fine. It's just when you're calling up saying, well, you know, on Twitter
Right,
you
you've
can't
got
follow,
Twitter
and
and
then just pay,
Facebook and-
yeah, I mean, it's all about Instagram and Snapchat and, you know, all these other things, you know, there's all these other ways to do
ADR, which
things.
one, sorry?
KDR.
Just the whole thing?
Just the whole, like, last, well, starting on, like, number 8 on the last page.
Number 7 is
Seven.
missing a
Okay,
word,
7.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be just general
Yeah,
social media applications.
And the very last line on number 7 says, send direct messages to other Twitter accounts with objectives that with the educational mission of the district. That what with?
Yeah.
I think that what it was is that we're using the legal reference from the, whatever you call it, the
Hampshire School Board.
the board,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, I understand.
And that's what it was, is,
Which is fine.
sometimes if you're more vague,
Well, that's
You get
just
your-
missing a verb.
no,
Oh, yeah,
right,
yeah, that-
right,
that
no.
The ones I see what
No,
you're saying
right,
about
I
the-
was going back to the other thing,
Well, this is so
Sometimes if you-
specific that if you, like, say if school board develops a Snapchat, and we start putting stuff on there that violates policy, and then we're gonna go come back and say, well, we didn't violate policy because it only says Twitter and Facebook.
Right, right.
Right, we could put social media in there.
Yeah, I mean, if we had just detailed guidelines of expected behaviors on there rather than the specific implementation on these particular, you know, social media websites.
Right, so the district will only follow other social media feeds.
You know, follow or subscribe to, you know, yeah, whatever.
You know what I mean?
Yep, yep, because it'll be different. on
Any
each-
place there's something specific,
Yeah.
we could change it with social media.
Right. So when the new
Is there-
one comes out next year, we'll be covered regardless. Sorry, Shane, go ahead.
Is there any authorization by administration for the development of a social media website before it's posted?
Yeah.
Before it's put up? Which one was that one? I don't remember reading it.
That's in the beginning of that policy, if I remember correctly.
I know it says the superintendent has the right to remove anything, but say if I wanted to develop a Snapchat, do I need to go to get approval first? Or can I just develop a Snapchat?
Superintendent,
develop a Snapchat.
as such, the superintendent is authorized to establish social media websites and platforms in furtherance of the district's values, goals, and mission. So if the superintendent is authorized, I think it's, you know, the chain of responsibility here, right? They have to go through him in order to get authorization, one way or another.
So who authorized the Facebook page?
That's not a district one, that's the Northwood School Board, that's the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who authorized that?
no one authorized it.
I think I'll take this back to the committee, because I think putting, like, just putting the general media type stuff in there, you know, it's, the district will not respond to tweet via reply. You know, that's why I think it's being so specific. It's saying this is what will not happen on those specific sites. And I understand there's more stuff out there in social media and everything like that, but I feel like, again, if you're too vague by putting just social media period or whatever in there, I don't know, you know.
Well, something else new is going to come up, you know, I mean, Facebook, Twitter.
If we
They're going to be,
codify the intent somehow, right?
That
More
could go
than
back for further
Yep.
work.
and I'd like to see either we have it or not more, you know, clear language about if we do need to get permission or not to represent the school board, the school, anything with a social media website.
So I'm not into all of that stuff. Is Facebook a social media website?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments about any of these policies?
Do you have a motion to move the first three to second reading?
Yet. Anyone like to make a motion to move these?
Second.
Any further discussion on the first three on that, moving the second reading? All in favor?
Hey,
Opposed? You want a motion to send
No,
the
we'll
last one
just,
back there, or we'll just?
no, we'll
bring it
just send
back?
that back.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay. Unless anyone has any other comments about policies, we can move on. The superintendent's report?
All right, you've got two stipends for nomination. One is Sue Hermano for Drama Club Assistant and Sue Hermano for Homework Club Co-Facilitator.
Second, any discussion on these? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Zero.
And the other is a personal report that I handed out to you on a separate piece for curriculum development. And you'll see 4 teachers there, $25 an hour curriculum development, not to exceed 20 hours.
Is that in the budget?
Second that.
Yes.
Or-
It is on,
It's the improvement of instruction,
I had it on
page 16.
Thank you. And is this something that would come out of that 5,000 we put in next year's budget, which is in a separate place?
It could. It could.
I mean, there's nothing in the budget for curriculum development,
Well, right now,
$1,000.
right now, we've got it in 2210, 5322.
Thank you.
Is that voted on?
No, no, yet. Sorry, I was just looking up the budget. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Carries.
And the other piece that we need to attend to tonight is I handed out the warrant articles. At the budget hearing, the amount was changed, and I think that the board wanted to revisit their vote and vote on the number. The vote was, the amount was decreased to $11,771,341.
Okay, so we'll vote on whether the board recommends this Article 2 as written.
So moved.
Second that. Any discussion? All in favor of recommending the article?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carries 3-2. 3-2? Yeah, 3 opposed.
So I have a clean copy of the warrant with the appropriate vote. And I'll hand that around, and there's two places on the second to the last page that the school board needs to sign off on. And this is the 3-2 vote. So I'll hand that around.
While we're on warrants, I'll look as soon as I get home. I've got the last 50 years of town reports, but when did July 1st, 2017 go on the end of those warrants?
Oh, gosh, I'd have to
I'll look when I get home.
check.
And what is the purpose of that?
They were on last year, I think.
I think we just try to give you the most up-to-date balance that we have.
Is this
So
all?
I'm asking about available
Just
on
one
July
copy.
1st,
We have to sign
2017. I'm just wondering.
I was like, what is he doing?
Oh, about being funded on
No,
July 1st?
when did that statement, available on July 1st, 2017, what year did that start? Do you have any idea?
I know it was in, I'm pretty sure it was in there last year. I don't know when it started, Tim. I'd have to look.
It wasn't last year, I'm pretty sure. I was just looking at it today. I don't know before that.
This statement here.
And that's all I have.
So we don't need to sign this in front of Nancy?
I already asked her about that. She said that's fine as long as I'm,
Oh, so you're doing it, she can take yours? Okay.
as long as I'm posted. I asked her that question.
We got two places to sign?
Yep.
Is that
Yes.
correct?
Do you have any other questions for the superintendent? Comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to our discussion of the calendar, specifically regarding Deerfield Fair.
Calendar has reverted to draft number 1. What happened to draft number 2?
It was draft, it should be draft number 1.
In our last packet, we saw draft number 2.
Was it?
Right, which, that was incorrect, though. Because it's the first draft we saw.
The draft that was recommended by the committee, though.
But it should have still been draft number 1.
Well, maybe they had two different drafts. That was
We
their
only
second
saw draft.
The committee may have had
But
two.
it's their second draft,
Yeah.
and this is their third draft, I would assume.
I think that was what we had asked for. I know I brought that up, that it had said draft number 2 at the top, and I believe we asked for that to be changed.
So what, just that got changed? Just the word, just the 2
It-
became a 1? Did the
As
workshop get moved back, or did it
As far as I
stay?
know, this is the same draft that you had the first time, so.
Okay.
Unless you see something differently. I did get additional feedback from the teachers after the last board meeting, so. We had, the feedback from the teachers was that there was, let me just grab my, there were two things. You can see the information on the Deerfield Fair on page 42, the attendance. Certainly a number of students there. The teachers felt that it would be acceptable to move the teacher workshop day to the 29th of September, which is the fair day. So making a swap between the teacher workshop day on October 6th, we could move that one back to the 29th and have a student day on the 6th of October.
So it would become a teacher workshop on the 29th, and then October 6th would just be a full day.
Right, we could have a teacher just flip-flop those, so we'd have a teacher workshop day on the 29th and a full student day on the
Right.
6th.
It's not just flip-flop, because that was during release, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So it just becomes 6.
And the other feedback I had was on the early release days that, and we've got them identified as early release days for students and teachers.
We had talked at the committee about changing the language, did we not?
it does, in their contract, it does say that the last teaching day of the week can be utilized and leave after the buses leave. So if you use that on the early release days, that is the last day of the teaching day of the week. So by contract, it should read, as we've got it here, early release days for students and teachers.
Oh, because they only happen on the last day of the week.
Correct.
Gotcha. All right, so it sounds like the calendar committee is recommending that there's a teacher workshop on September 29th.
Well, originally, the calendar committee had it as presented, and then there was conversations and concerns about the fair day.
Right.
And then, so the teachers said that would be acceptable, and it's back to you for discussion, so. And I hope I'm relaying that information correctly.
I'm seeing head shaking.
You want,
Sure.
Can I
Lauren?
speak really quickly?
Yes.
Okay. So per the phone conversation that I had with Bob, we wanted to, yes, the teacher workshop day, the Deerfield Fair Day can be a teacher workshop day with a non-day for students due to the attendance. What we still wanted was the October 6th teacher workshop, due to that being the NEA workshop for that some of our staff go to. So we wanted to extend one more day in June. So I think that would be June 12th or 13th, not having the calendar in front of me.
sorry about that, I misunderstood.
That's okay. So hopefully that clarifies and to make your decision. So thank you.
There'll be a teacher workshop day on the 29th, teacher workshop day on October 6th.
Correct.
And the last day of school will be June 12th is what?
Without a calendar in front of me, it's the 12th or 13th. So yes. Thank you for letting me clarify.
Did we get, or did I miss the, we asked for some numbers about how many students?
We did, it's in the packet on page
It's in the
42.
packet. Last 3 years.
Looks to be about 1/4 of the student population was not in school in those days. Which was, I believe, getting pretty close to the number, right? that we're-
You're asking me when it is?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Which one is the Deerfield Fair, the 6th?
No. September 29th.
29th,
Okay.
29th.
So I would certainly be in favor of a teacher workshop on the 29th and on October 6th, with the last day of school being June 12th.
So I don't know if, and I don't think I'd expect an answer tonight, but I don't know if you'd mind if I asked Ms. Dow. So one of the conversations that we had in the last meeting was that, and it's not that I don't mind having a teacher workshop, but one of the things that we were saying is that we would like to see more participation from the teachers back into the Deerfield Fair. And if we have a teacher workshop on that day, will the teachers be able to have that participation in the Deerfield Fair again? So I think that was one of the reasons that the early release was a good thing, but then if it's the end of the week and they can leave early, you're not going to see that participation also. So I guess that's my question, and I don't want to put you on the spot if you can't answer it, but that was one of the thought processes, was having more teacher participation again in the Deerfield Fair.
So I think that was part of our reason. The other part of our reason for an early release was due to Co-Brown was also having an early release. And my question that I'm not sure if it was answered or not is, when Co-Brown gets out at 11:30, we get out at 12:35. So the question is, either how many of those students are being dismissed between 11:30 and 12:35 that are going to the Deerfield Fair because Co-Brown gets out at 11:30. So is our attendance due to kids not being here at the end of the day or the whole day, or is it due to dismissals? And that was what we didn't understand with the attendance that we printed out. So that was one of the reasons that we wanted a half day that day. But also, we also know that the board wanted us to have the day off, which, so that was kind of a compromise, I guess. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Well, I guess, just to throw another question back, do you think if, with a teacher workshop, could that be part of a workshop or something to do with the Deerfield Fair to get that participation? I mean, I don't know just, again, that's just something that it would be nice to see, because I know it's sometimes hard to get a lot of volunteers and everything together to.
Part of me thinks that, just thinking off the fly here, that might be part of a discussion with administration and professional development, not knowing what the administration is looking for with our participation in the Deerfield Fair. So,
Thank you.
sure.
Lauren, can you clear one thing up for
Sure.
me? I'm a little confused because that would be 8 teacher workshop days. If I'm looking at this right, because there's 2 in August,
Yep.
and then we've got one the 1st of September. 1, 2, 3,
Can I?
5, 6.
I don't think it was fun.
No, no one was.
Because
They didn't use
if
it.
we add one on the 6th of October,
Just amazing.
that means you'd have 7 teacher workshop days and then the parent conference day.
And I think that's, I honestly don't know if we thought of that when we said that we wanted that day off. I may have miscalculated because I didn't count parent conference day. So, yep, that would still be a problem area.
It's counted as a teacher day.
Right, I didn't realize it was like a teacher workshop. I look at that as professional development.
So can I make a suggestion? Can the calendar committee meet maybe before our next meeting and come up with a solid proposal?
Yeah,
That irons out all of these issues. It sounds like we're close and where we are. I think the board's concern, if I'm reading everybody right, is that we have at least a teacher workshop day or no school on the 29th.
I'm good with an early release. I'm good with the way it is. I mean, if you look at the numbers and everything.
That was the recommendation of the
Yeah.
calendar committee in the first place.
Yep.
So I thought that was the compromise that we agreed to.
I'm
can-
sorry, I missed
Looking at
that
the
comment.
numbers. What's that?
Can you just repeat that comment?
Oh, I said
I
I'm
just didn't
fine
hear
with the early release. I'm fine with the way it is.
Okay, well, let's talk about that then, because if we're going to send the calendar committee off, we got to give them direction, right?
Yes.
As to what we want to do.
Right, because if we're going to add another teacher workshop day, that goes to 8, and that's over contract.
Right. Right. I'm not so sure an early release day is good enough with the numbers that we're seeing here. I mean, we're seeing 1/4 of the student population out of school on these days when we do have school.
And what was the percent that you needed to have a
That was like
day?
80, I thought,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they've said it situationally. There is no set percentage as far as the minimum standards go, but they have set, they've said for, I believe, blizzard bags, they've set at 75, and then they've got 85 for other situations. So I would say 75 to 85, but under this circumstance, you do have a lot of students who,
Somebody said 25%, I think, but this is certainly more than 25%.
Yeah, it was just a guess.
either
It was just-
excused or
yeah.
dismissed.
Yeah, it's more than 25%.
Some portion of the
Yep.
day.
Oh, yeah,
Those
but I
were
mean,
whole days. Those
the
were
whole
whole
point of having
days.
school is to teach, and if that many kids are out, we're not teaching them.
But these were whole days.
I understand. I mean,
These weren't an early release. So if you look at them, there were some that were absent the whole day, some of that were dismissed in the AM, and then some that were dismissed more in the PM.
So if you just subtract the dismissal in the PM times, though, you're still going to,
and
very large
I don't think it's fair to the student, nor to the teacher who's trying to, have a class, if 30% of her class is out of there, then she's not gonna teach what she should that day, because 30% are gonna miss it, so she's gonna wait till the next day, so do something. It makes no sense to me.
Well, and
It's just,
I'm in total agreement with that.
yeah, it's just,
an easy fix would be to, if you X that day out, that early release day on the 29th, if you have it a non-day, no day for anybody,
that's fine.
then you're moving, you could leave the teacher workshop day the way it is,
That's fine with me.
and then you would just add another day in June to be the 12th instead of the 11th.
I only care about one thing in the whole calendar, and that's it, that one day. Beyond that, I don't care what they do. Other than, I think the teachers should work the 186 or 7. I think the school kids should get 180.
Yep.
But that's the only day that really makes a difference. It's never made sense to me to have school on that day.
I mean, having
All of those kids out.
a school end, I mean, assuming we had no snow days, which probably isn't going to happen, having school end on a Monday isn't the greatest situation, in my opinion, either, right? So extending it to at least have 2 days of the last week. is a positive in my mind as well.
That's
what we're
just
doing
a
this year.
non-day, it's just perfectly fine with me.
Even with having
I
it
agree.
up.
So we could, that would fit basically what you were talking about, so.
I mean, my other colleague isn't here, but I'm assuming that that would be okay moving forward if the people on the
Whoever
board.
suggests we
But
have
also, we
another
do have a
meeting
community
amongst them,
member,
That's
so.
what should happen, yeah.
Yep. So,
But-
yeah, what was the board's recommendation to the calendar committee? Does that plan sound good to everyone?
Non-day is my recommendation.
You know, non-day on the 28th?
Do you feel fair day?
Yes, yes. Are we,
You're saying early release.
no.
No.
You're saying no school.
No school.
No school.
No school.
Okay.
Well, that's what we told them before, and they came back and said, no, we think only half day. So if you go back and say the exact same thing all over again, I mean, that's just talking in a circle.
I think we're
Yeah,
on this, closer to
Yeah,
being
we'll
on the same
probably be
board
fine
here,
with
though.
that.
This is a non-day, so no teachers, no students.
Right.
All right, we'll bring that back to the calendar committee and bring it back next meeting.
Come back with draft number 4,
Draft number 4.
or whatever it is
One
at that
more.
point.
The new draft.
Okay. Everybody good with that? Deliberative session planning. I don't know if you had anything specific you want to talk about here. The town moderator did want to ask me to bring to the board how we wanted to address these things.
You done with Dr. Gronowski?
Yep, we were finished them a while ago.
Questions?
Can we do it after this then?
Sure.
So, the town moderator wanted to know who was going to do the presentation and make the motions for the school board and the seconds, and whether we wanted to, things like that, right? So, I've been putting together slides for the presentation, which I'll get out to you via email, maybe as soon as I can, as soon as they're done. And I don't know if you saw my emails, if you guys have any input about what you'd like to see on the slides, let me know, for especially the teacher negotiations, which I wasn't a part of. I did get your email about that stuff. And I'll put
Tim,
it
I
on there.
did send that to you also, so let me know if you don't get it, just what I came up with as the bullet points for it. If there's more, if you think we should say less or whatever, I sent it this
Yeah,
afternoon, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
I mean, I did look at it early this afternoon, and I didn't see it.
Yeah, so if you didn't get it, let me know.
So, I mean, I assume, I can't remember how exactly this all went down last year and in previous years, but I think the board chair makes the motion, and somebody from the school board usually seconds it, for putting the articles on there, so I'm happy to go forward with that.
I can second that.
Yeah. I imagine the petition warrant articles will have a petitioner be doing that for, not the school board.
But there's plenty of people that will be happy to move them.
That's fine. Yeah, and he wanted the slides by January 30th, which is unfortunately before our next meeting. So what we can do is perhaps schedule a meeting for next week to go over the slides, maybe just that, or perhaps move our February 2nd meeting to next Thursday instead, where we can take care of whatever business needs to be done for that. And I just mentioned that because I may not be here on February 2nd either, so, and the slides need to be done before then, and given to him. So we can talk about that later with the future agenda items if you want. Just to let you know what's coming.
Well, I mean, why can't you just send them to Dr. Godomsky and have him send them to us? If you send them to us, that's a meeting.
I'll do that. I'll definitely do that as soon as they're ready.
Just, you know, it just, and if anyone has any issues, they can send it to Dr. Godomsky and he can portray that to you.
That works for
I
me.
don't see that we need a meeting to look at the slides, to be honest with you.
Okay. Anybody have any objection to that?
I'm assuming that it's just gonna be black and white,
Yeah,
not black
as
and
long as
white,
we-
but I mean, it figures that they are, you know.
As long as we
All it
get
is.
the slides in
Yep.
time.
Okay. I will try to get those out as soon as I can. But definitely let me know if there's stuff you want to see on there too, like, ahead of time. I know you mentioned having a title
Budget
page or
statement,
something.
yeah.
Something like that. I don't have anything like that, for instance, but. Okay. Any other comments or questions about the deliberative session coming up? We're planning for that? I don't know that we,
We'll put together the same packet that we did last year with all of the information in it, the budget, the default budget, the contracts, tax impact. So we'll have all of those put together for the
public.
deliberative session for the public.
Good.
I got a question. On tax impact, the money that we sent back to the town, minus the 90,000, of course, that we talked about earlier. Where does that money, what, I guess, Tim, you'd be.
It goes in the town's, what we call unassigned fund balance.
Okay.
And then the selectmen have the option at the end of the year to use any surplus that they have. So we're supposed to have between 6 and 8 or something % of the two budgets in this fund, and there's a lot of money in it. Not as much as we should have, but there's a lot of money. So the selectmen make a decision, so they can take $100, $200, $300, $400,000 out of that fund and use it to buy down, is what we call it, the tax rate. And they always do that. Okay, but they control that. We don't. So the extra money that we have, basically, as I understand it, we don't ever give anything back the following year. They give us that much less. Is that basically right?
I don't know how the town side of it
Okay.
works.
So, I
know
mean,
it.
that's basically how it works, so in the next appropriation for the following year, if we already have, in this case, $514,000, they would give us the appropriation less $514,000 quarterly or as we need it. But the selectmen, the 3 selectmen are the ones who use that money to, and what they call it, or I call it when I was there, was buy down the tax rate. And we tried to, they tried to keep the tax rate level. Spikes up or down, neither one are very good for the taxpayer. It's much easier on them if we can kind of keep it, in a little bit of a level keel. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, because with the tax impact of the warrant articles and all that stuff, I'm saying, I've been looking at over the past year, it's been pretty steady. Our tax rate's been pretty steady, hasn't gone up by too much. So,
Oh.
and then I think that's because that's all, I'm just trying to run numbers in my head of why that tax rate was staying pretty steady when it's
They
not.
use their fund, part of which comes from us, to buy back or buy down the tax rate, is really what it is. And it's kind of an intricate system that the business administrator will work with, and then he brings that to the selectmen, and then they say, well, we would like a little more, or we'd like the taxes to be a little lower, or we think we can leave it there, and they have a chat, and it's a public chat. You could go to that meeting and decide what exactly, how much money they're gonna use out of that fund balance to
Lower the tax
lower
rate.
the taxes, or keep them steady. So, in an ideal situation, if for whatever reason, there's going to be a spike in taxes, but we have $1.5 million in that fund, and we can use $500,000 to offset that spike and keep the tax steady. And I think the selectmen, for quite a few years, I'm talking 20 years that I know, have done pretty good at that.
Thank you.
I think, though, the money that gets back, doesn't necessarily go for the school's tax rate, right? It goes for both of them using some formula that's determined by the DRA or something like that. So the money, even if we're giving back $500,000 and they buy that back, it doesn't necessarily come just off our tax rate, it comes off, it lowers both of them.
No, I don't agree
In
with
some
that.
portion.
I
That's
don't
what,
agree with that.
that's what Selectman Breyer told me.
Our tax rate is based on what we spend.
That's not what Selectman Breyer told me. He said that there was formulas at the DRA that determined that. Maybe he's wrong.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any committee meetings?
Yes.
Interim?
The Facilities Committee met real quickly and really came on pretty quick, Tim, and I pretty much asked Tom, I was like, hey, can you give me a list of items that you think that need to be done so we can get a jump on it? And he came up with just some minor ones. One that would probably be a significant amount of money would be resurfacing the bubblegum stairs, these stairs right here. They're pretty worn out. Front parking lot, you take a walk in our front parking lot, it's getting pretty worn down, potholes and stuff.
Do you think the whole thing needs to be repaved?
Be repaved. You know, and we don't need to talk about it, because this is stuff that's gonna be all about end-of-year stuff. But there are some certain things that I told, that, you know, if he's got money in his budget, just go ahead and do it. He wants to put up 3 more cameras. One's in the courtyard. There's one that doesn't really point down this way, looking down. That's the west side of the building, and then another one in the courtyard. And there was another one too. Remember which one it was? One facing, I forget where it was. There was a hallway or something like that. He wants to, so the cameras are inexpensive, and I know we put money back last year from his budget, and I told him I'd be on top of it. If you can put it in the budget, in your line, go right ahead.
I don't see where that's your decision.
Well, it's not my decision.
All right. I just, the way you say that, Tom would take that and run with it. But we have an assistant principal, we have a principal, and we have a superintendent, and we have a school
All
board.
right, so take my general speaking as me and Tom having a discussion, like, hey, this is the stuff that I like to see
First
done.
off, with all due respect, if you're gonna have a facilities committee meeting, then I should have been called.
Okay.
So that's number one. Number two, you and I, or you alone, can't make decisions.
I'm not making decisions.
Okay, well, boy, it didn't sound like that. You told him to go ahead and do it.
It's a
That
general
was a decision
conversation.
from you. So anyway,
so-
all right, I've said my piece.
All right, good for you. All right, another one was a safety thing you talked about, buzzer office entry. So if you're coming in through the Route 4 side, right, they buzz them in. And there was always been that complaint about, hey, you buzz one person in, 2 or 3 people can get in right afterwards. So he wanted another buzzer at the front before you get into the office. So if one person gets buzzed in, and then they see that second person come in, it's like, all right, who the heck is that? So now they can't get into the office, or they can't, so it's blocked. So they're pretty much trapped in that area. So it's just another layer of security.
So regarding that, and if I was there, I'd brought this up. This was a big issue when the security system at the office was put in. Many of us on the board at the time, well, there was only 5, but numerous of the board members at the time felt very strongly that this expensive system that we would put in would not be used in a way that people could trailer in. And it immediately was. So we brought it up to the board. So the board decided, this school board decided, that that's okay.
Would you
So
know,
I'm
do you remember
just-
when that was? How long ago was that?
Oh, not very long after we bought it all, so you can go look. But that was a motion and a board decision.
And not do that.
And to this day, I will not sign any spending, any more money on security because of that alone. That just really irritated me, that 2 or 3 people could follow it each. I did it the other day. and it's wrong. And anybody, it should be changed, and.
So
if
to clarify,
somebody-
you're in support of doing this.
I'm in
So
support
he won't sign
of-
anything for it.
I'm in support that we should not allow somebody to come in after somebody at that front door. I mean, if we're going to have security, then by dawn, we should have security. And we shouldn't have spent $35,000 if we're not going to have security. It makes no sense. I'm sorry. You know, I don't mind the security. I voted for it. I approved it. I fought for it. And then just goes by the wayside. The first, it was within weeks, 2, 3, 4
Right,
weeks.
I mean, the proposal that Mr. Tom was looking for was to buy
Another buzzer.
secondary buzzer so that this would
Yep.
solve that
And
problem,
this
right?
is all something that he was speaking to me about, that he wants to implement into the
Right.
building.
Yep.
So he, it's something that he talked to Ms. Young about, and it's, and he was just mentioning it because it's part of security, so. And then another thing he said that could be a big ticket item that he's been fighting with is the walk-in freezer replacement. It keeps on flooding, and he doesn't know if it's just the motor itself. He goes, he believes the fridge itself is fine, he doesn't know, and he needs to get someone in there to take a look at it. That's about it.
Thanks.
Oh,
Can I ask a question about security? So I'm just concerned because I don't understand how if they're piggybacking coming in the first door, how is that going to stop them from piggybacking coming in the second door?
Thank you.
Well,
I guess that would be my
They
concern.
no one would be allowed into the office. Like if, for example, if that first person comes in, right, and the secretary there, the administrator, assistant sees another person piggyback in, she's gonna, you can't get into the office unless it's buzzed in again. So it'd be a double layer security. So if I walk in by myself, I go into that one, I get buzzed in, I walk in, then I get buzzed in again into the main office. All right, so with if there's someone that sneaks in, that person that sneaks in, they're gonna have to verify who that person is before they're gonna let them in to the office. So it's not that one person being verified and a whole bunch of other people not being verified.
They're not sneaking, they're just walking in.
Right, true. Well, they're walking in,
Don't
sneaking
sneak
in.
about it.
So it's just
Well, the system that we have anyways is kind of stupid
now when the
because you
doors-
buzz one door and they both open. Whether they're on that side of the building or this one, if they're buzzing somebody in on Route 4, this door is unlocking also.
Right.
I mean, I could be
And
at Route
sometimes
4 and
they-
then
They ring on the
I've never
same
heard
here.
that before. I'm not arguing with you, but if that's so, then that should be fixed. That's
that's been that way since the
I
beginning.
never heard anybody say that, you know. The door should have individual systems. I mean, again, we spent a lot of money. Please go back and look. Ask for the bills. We spent a lot of money. We had Chief Droulet in here, and he walked this entire school with us and told us what he thought we should do, and we did it. And within a very short time, the system was broken as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you're either going to have security or you're not. Pick. And if you're going to have security, I'm all for it. But if you're going to just spend a bunch of money and then have no security, then I'm sorry. What sense does that make?
So I propose to go over the security. Granted, I wasn't here when the board made that decision, so I would like to relook into the security of the building.
So why don't we have this facilities committee come back with us with a proposal on that? I mean, that, with numbers probably, would be good. You know, how much is it gonna cost, how's it gonna work?
Okay.
Because another concern for me would be if people, so say that I'm leaving the building, I'm here for a meeting with Jocelyn, I go to leave, somebody's there right when I'm leaving, and then they sneak in right behind me. So I'm just asking, so should I just stay inside until somebody buzzes that person in?
Big sign saying
Should-
just exactly that.
And I'm just saying, I know what I would do and I know what I should do, but I'm just
They're
saying.
the same, right?
But but I'm just saying for other people that don't know, like for parents, I'm dropping my kid off, I'm walking my kid into the building, I'm leaving, so-and-so walks in, they're my neighbor, I let them, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, there just seems like a whole new protocol maybe that needs to be followed besides upgrading the security, maybe something in the front, I don't know. I'm just running scenarios through my head with security
is
right now.
very, very cumbersome. If you want to be secure, it is extraordinarily cumbersome. And that's why people start breaking the rules immediately. So a decision has to be made. Do we want security or do we not? And if we do, spend the money, but insist, demand, that everybody follow the rules. Because otherwise, it's not a secure system. It was just a waste of money.
Just some clarification, where would the second buzzing door be on the,
Before you walk into the main office,
so it doesn't stop them from getting into the
that little
hallway?
foyer, no.
I guess you can't go anywhere from there either, right?
No.
Okay,
It's locked.
understand.
What does that do on this side?
I think you'd probably have to follow the same.
Well, there's two sets of
Protocol.
doors there on the side too, right?
But there's what, 1, 2, 3 sets of doors.
Right.
And I know that they keep the doors on the others, like those are secure, but I mean, you have to start following the same thing with the gym on this side.
And
Ones
that,
inside of here aren't
Right.
secure.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
in that case, you probably want it to be on the outer door, so that, because you can get to the gym, and that door is usually open on the other side too.
So someone made this suggestion, And I think it was some sort of a security consultant, but anyway, we also had, and I've been sitting here trying to think of his name, because I really like the guy, but when Chief DeLay was here, we also had the head of the emergency management system in New Hampshire, who I know personally. He came. I haven't seen him in years, but he was at that meeting too. And one of the suggestions, and it's an excellent suggestion, and it'll never happen, close the front door, block it up, just have it back here. I don't think a school should be on a main road like that anyway, but that's way too late. That decision would have to make 400 years ago. But just close that front door. That would solve a lot of issues in this school. A lot of issues would go away.
Because other ones don't.
Started it.
No, and I'm not saying I don't disagree with you, Tim, so.
All right, let's have the facilities committee get back to us on that, and we'll think about it in the meantime. Any other committee reports that have occurred in between now and then? I know the budget committee did meet, but I think we were all there. Public hearing.
Following that in the news?
No,
You haven't?
no.
You guys all set? Okay, moving on to old business. We have strategic planning on our agenda for tonight.
Strategic planning was on your agenda. You wanted it back in January to revisit. I handed out the proposal of the vendor that I believe you decided on. Price tag was around $21,000, and you wanted to revisit that discussion now.
So I think the reason we put it off until now is because we wanted to have some better idea as to what money was in our budget
Yep.
for this. What is the prevailing opinion on that?
Well, I mean, you've got your financials there. The early look at it is you've got money in your budget to do this.
So is that, I mean, I didn't look closely at that, but the overages that we're showing, are they not the earmarked overages for insurance costs and high school students?
Not high school
Not high school
students.
students, obviously, but,
Definitely not high school students.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because there's
there
two or
was
three things we said that we were going to give back to the town.
Yep.
One of them being special education savings, the other one being our do not exceed numbers for insurance.
Yep.
And then any extra allocated high school students. High school students are obviously out.
Have we ever said, just questioning, have we ever said that we're giving back transportation? Because we are saving some money there. Just
Nope,
putting that out there.
not that I know of. I mean, yeah.
Tim, is
What?
transportation anything that the board has ever said that we would definitely give back?
Transportation?
Like, because we have not quite a bit, but we have some savings in transportation specifically because
Yep.
we were just asking what lines. We don't want to spend money out of, the insurance overages, those types of things, but we do have savings in transportation because of what's going on
Sounds fine.
specifically.
So where do we sit with that?
I don't know, but
I haven't
that's,
heard, you know.
no, but
So
what my
your
question
question
is that one of the things that the board has always said that they would not spend out of that line?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, that I didn't think so, but,
Never been discussed once about not spending that money.
I mean, certainly in your financials, you've got a sum of money in your insurance lines that are unexpended at this point. And I know you had discussions about not spending that money. You've got,
Cole Brown and insurance are the
Yep.
only two that have ever been discussed.
and like I said, at this point, you've got $328,000 that isn't earmarked.
just gotta look, transportation.
And this is in the, what did you say this was again? To get started on this?
21,000 is
21,000. So very likely we have that at least.
correct.
And that's 21,000 for the whole thing, right? The whole,
It's on the back of your,
So even though we've encumbered all of the,
Right, I'm wondering if we can release some.
Yeah,
I gotta go
because-
back and
that was part of this
research.
presentation.
yep, yeah, it's just been a while.
Yeah.
I remember, but don't hold me to that.
3,000 what?
Is that what the credit was?
Oh, you're talking transportation?
Yes, transportation,
Oh,
because it's
sorry, I
all
was on Cole Brown.
encumbered. Oh, no, not Cole Brown.
All right, how would the board like to proceed on this?
Why did they bring up transportation?
Should we get in touch and tell
I
them
wanted
we'd like to
know,
get started?
What the number was.
Start with?
Tell them to move closer.
What's that?
Moving closer? Oh,
The travel expenses. He's good.
so the credit for February was 3,000.
Per day for the project.
So,
Right, but we've had this credit, we've had a credit for most of this time, so that's what I was just thinking, because right now it's all encumbered, so it looks like if the line is 0. So I'm just kind of wondering what that line really is, to see if we can spend that out of there. I mean, we have numbers.
you happy with the spending, the 21,000? Is that what you're looking into?
Yeah.
Okay, just curious. So how would the board like to move forward with this?
That's
We have a-
7 months.
What do we have to do? We'd have to get in touch, if we want to move forward, we have to get in contact with them?
Yeah,
Tell them we're-
if you want to move forward with it, I'll get in contact with him, and most likely, I think the way to move forward would be to put him on a future agenda to come in, just so he can hear from the board exactly what you're looking for, and he could go over the steps that he's looking to start.
Sounds good to me. Anybody agree, disagree?
I don't care if you bring them in, I doubt if I'm gonna vote for it, but
I'd kind of like to hear it again. Of the two proposals that the board liked, this was not my choice.
Yep.
So I'd kind of like to give him another look if this is the one that we want to go with before I agree.
One final interview?
Yeah,
for-
just to hear more, because like I said, I thought the other one was clearer, it was more concrete, and this guy had a lot of experience with the schools, but he was kind of all over the place, and I really had a hard time following him, so I'd like to,
Because he's drawn behind you.
yeah, that wasn't good. But yeah, like I said, I thought the other one was better, so if this is the one that the majority was in favor of, I'd just like another shot at hearing him explain what he's gonna do before I decide to spend $20,000.
21. On that.
21.
I was with you on that, if I recall correctly. So let's do that. And okay, unless anyone has an objection, let's ask them to come in, give us when we're ready to move forward, I guess, what we want, one final overview, I guess, to give us.
Overview, more details,
Yeah.
if possible.
Sorry, say that again, Bree?
I would just like more details. Like I said, this one, he spent a lot of time just saying things that we all might have agreed with, but it didn't really have anything to do with what he was going to do as a plan.
Yeah,
So-
there may be more in here, too. I haven't had a
That's what
chance to
I
go through
wanted
this as
another
well,
chance
so-
to look at it
yeah.
and just hear his pitch maybe again.
Yep.
Another thing is too, is he proposed starting in February of this year, ending in June. Depending on what happens during, school budget, if it passes, there's gonna be a couple
Well-
things that are gonna be thrown in there that are gonna be different, so
I think,
technically, he shouldn't start until March.
strategic planning is long-term planning that should go on for, looking out 5 years. I think the immediate situation that we're in right now should be only a small part of it.
But our situation could change drastically.
It could.
Either a lot less money, or a lot more money, or more positions, could go many different ways.
I agree with you that it could. I don't see why that should necessarily affect our 5-year plan or whatever, right? Where we want to be in 5 years. All right, so Dr. Domsey will get in touch with him, get him on a future agenda soon, hopefully.
Yep. I will do that.
Oh, yeah?
All right, I've lost my agenda. There we go.
yes, he's for choice.
Next on the agenda is the 2017, 2018 calendar approval. That's back to committee for the moment. Anybody see anything on parking lot items or school board timeline that needs addressing now?
I'm still waiting to ask
talk
Dr.
to-
I'm sorry, I told you you could do that. I totally forgot. Go ahead. We'll give you time for that.
On the manifest, I had, I think, 4 questions. So, well, several of them are, 2 of them are the same. We seem to have expanded our use of the neck people, so we paid 2 hours and 2.75 hours at $120 an hour for a neck person to go to Co-Brown, and then we paid for 1 hour and 75 minutes, $210 at $120 an hour. When did that start?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, they're in the manifest.
I can look and see if I can get an
Okay,
answer.
and I understand, so I have those two questions.
Yep.
And what exactly is the partner program? And if it refreshes your memory, for just the month of November, we paid $13,026 for the partner program, just for 1 month. So I'd like to know what that's about. And a bus ride to Rochester, $175, 19 days, $3,325?
I can speak to that one in non-public.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like a Scott thing.
All right. I mean, I don't want to know any names. I mean, that's a pretty, it's 22 miles. All right. Wow.
On business.
Can I answer the partner program?
Yeah, what is that?
That's the, when we decided to bring that program into the building, for the select students that go there, sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 8. That's our contract with them, because they actually have somebody that comes in and facilitates that.
But that says just for the month of November. It says right on the invoice.
Yeah, that $13,000. It's a contract we kind
So in
of,
December, it's going to be another 13,000?
yep. We pay that every month. And it's actually encumbered on your financials.
And so, yes,
under
I'd
that.
like to know what exactly it is. What
Okay.
are we paying? And I realize that's not for you to answer, but Mr. Rooney
Yeah.
should be here at our next meeting, hopefully. But I'm just, that's a lot of money.
You know where on the, what line is that?
Sure.
If you know offhand, don't say it.
It's 1,200 and special education tuition neck. It's on page 14 of your packet. And
That's, all right, so that's the neck thing.
yes,
That's all that is.
yes. Yep.
All right, so why
Because-
doesn't it say neck? Aren't they called neck anymore?
I believe,
It's the NEC partner program. So sometimes we use them
I
interchangeably.
mean, if it's just the neck program, then
It's-
I understand what that is.
the
Yes,
New
that's
England
what it
Center
is.
for Children, neck.
But this is for the 8 kids or whatever that we
Right.
have, okay.
So
thank you.
we're paying
So I don't
neck
need to know that answer.
for it. Okay.
So I'm still interested in the other 3.
I'm looking into it. I'm looking for those people that you said were paid.
Which ones? Oh, those were also neck, probably in the same 3. There were like 3, bing, bing, bing. They actually, for a neck tutor to go to Co-Brown.
Probably for transition planning.
Yes. Okay. When you had said it, I thought it was payroll related. I thought it was
No?
people,
So,
okay.
I mean, at $120 an hour, transition planning, at $120 an hour.
Okay.
Is, yeah,
I suspect we can talk about that in non-public fairly quickly.
if we're not mentioning any names, why? I don't
I don't know. I don't have any
particular
information,
kid.
but-
I'm just,
We'll find all those answers. Some of those
Okay,
are
cool.
conversations with Mr. Rooney.
Yeah.
I agree, thank you.
We'll get those answers for you.
All set?
I am.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to parking lot items and school board timeline. No action on the cafeteria ceiling, I assume the facilities committee didn't talk about that?
We did. It's one of those things that will come up at the end of the year.
Okay. It's kind of like, wait to see if we have money to do it.
So, I was in there the other day eating lunch, and I don't know why it popped into my head, but has it ever been thought about to just do like a drop ceiling in there?
That was proposed.
And isn't it cheaper to do like a drop ceiling than,
There was, but now you're covering all the pipes, you gotta drop the lights, and move the lights down further. We have all the proposals from last year that we got, that were really never brought forward. because it was decided that.
It's
it was-
really no worse than my elementary school was when I was in elementary school, so.
Yeah, but that was like,
I know.
We had a
I can still hit fine.
We'll let the facilities committee get back to us on that. In our January responsibilities list, I think most of this stuff is preparing for the deliberative session and doing warrant articles, except for our summer school planning, we have specifically earmarked for the second January meeting. Is that something?
Well, I
we agree?
think some of that has already started. I mean, Jocelyn talked a little bit tonight about
Yeah.
working on that, so that's in process.
The process, okay.
Yeah, well, I can provide a budget once I get the transportation quote. I can provide a detailed budget of how the Title I funds will be spent for
Okay.
that.
Great, thank you. Coming up in February, so these are things we might want to consider putting on our agenda for the next meeting is discussion of sixth grade science camp with school board.
I didn't know what that was. What's the discussion that needs to be had?
I don't know.
I don't know what guns and stuff.
Well,
Wonderful thing. Yeah. Have a great time, I can guarantee it.
Maybe about stipends and
Yeah,
how
I
many
think that
people
they-
are going and.
I think there was discussions in the past about funding for the science camp and who was going and those types of things.
Science camp.
I get, is that
Narrow Vista.
that's the one we pay half?
Or, I don't know, we have some amount in
We got
ours.
some in there, yeah.
I don't know if it's half.
What-
Yeah.
And we had this discussion last year with Marjorie. What the original vote was, is that we would pay for half. So if, do you remember that conversation? I mean, you can go back to the vote, but that was the vote. We would pay half. That particular year, it happened to be 6,500, so we keep putting that forward. But frankly, if that's 13. If it's 15, I want to pay 75. If it's 11, I want to pay 55. I want to pay half. That's what we told the people out there. And I want to stick to that personally because I don't want it to go away. For a number of years, we didn't pay any. And I like paying half. And I like that they have to work for half. To me, that's just fine. But we're supposed to be paying half.
Excuse me.
I'd like to bring that up for further discussion later, because I think that,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If it's in the budget, I think we should try to get, I mean, it's an important program, and I think they get a lot out of it, so.
I think it's a fantastic program, having gone 2 years in a row, or 2 years. I don't know if it was in a row, but it's a phenomenal program. It's a huge program for those kids, and
Yep.
And
And I don't-
I'd love to have this conversation, because I don't disagree with what you just said. But the town was awful upset when we tried to pay for it all, so they took it all away. And that's the danger you get by playing with this. Right now, they've accepted half. And I think that's nice of them. I really do.
Let's put it on.
I think that leaving the money, there's money in there to pay for it, because if we don't use the money that's there, there's going to be kids that can't go. And I think that would be awful, because I think last year was one of the first years that every kid went. Some of them came for the day. And I just wish every person could go and see what goes on at Mara Vista. It's phenomenal.
I don't argue with you. I fought for the half when it was zero. And I think that's more than fair.
Okay, we can put it on an agenda. I mean, it's worth thinking about. I'm reading through
I'm not even
February.
aware why we're talking about it.
Oh, because I'm going through the board, I'm just looking at what's
so-
coming up in February, so we can be prepared with what's
I
going to
just think
happen.
sometimes the board should look back at what happened and the votes that the previous boards took and realize there's reasons for that. You know, we're working on a default budget this year. You know, we
It has that money in it.
So the other things coming forward in February is board feedback on non-CBA staff. So we should schedule that in for one of the next few meetings. And board evaluation policy, BA, which I assume is going to be evaluating ourselves on the priorities that we set earlier this year, not so early. but So these are things to keep in mind. We should add them to agendas, fit them in somewhere.
Okay.
Any other future agenda items that anybody is interested in setting now? Want to put on the agenda for our February 2nd meeting? Okay. Sets us up for our future meetings. Our next regular board meeting is February 2nd, followed by February 16th. These are the regular time meetings. For a joint board meeting at the SAU on January 23rd. That's a Monday night, if I'm correct. That's next Monday, in fact. 6:15. And that's about it. I guess the February 6th is our deliberative session. That's important. It's worth noting.
There's a budget committee meeting on January 31st,
January 31st.
but they're just approving minutes, hopefully. I don't think there's going to be any other business,
Okay.
but I don't know if you want it on the list or
Yep.
not, but it's
Good.
happening.
Thanks for letting us know. 7 o'clock?
That's
Yes.
not a quarterly?
Hmm?
That's not a quarterly?
They wanted to have, no, because they wanted to have one more before
Yeah,
all
there's-
the new board members came on and
Right.
wouldn't be able to approve the minutes because they weren't part of the board then, or part of the committee then.
Just wrapping up before elections, basically.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. We're losing 4 members, I think.
Yep.
Not in town.
Okay, is there any closing public comment?
You let me retire and have all this time on my hands.
Thank you.
Yes, you need one, right? I know, I'm slipping here. Oh, now I'm tripping on that.
Uh-oh, don't make Gary mad.
Thanks.
Did you have any follow-up?
I'm
too?
sure that you're saying, why am I talking about the teacher's contract when the teachers have voted on it? I would like to just say that I don't think this information that you're seeing right now was made clear to them. I don't know how many teachers are in the union that are members that are under the contract, and I don't know how many attended that meeting. So I don't really know what the vote was for that contract, but I do question the information that I've just presented to you and how that was clear to them. I know this information is very discouraging to the staff. They've stuck it through many years of no pay increases, yet they remain here at Northwood School. I know that this will not affect their effort and the time they put into their teaching. They're professionals, and they're all here because they love the children, they care about the community and the school, and they want to have every child be successful, and they are hard workers. But on the other hand, what message does this send to those teachers that are some behind me? Are new people worth more than those people who have stuck here? Does this show that our teachers are valued and respected? And if you would just kind of think of that and maybe morale and what that might be doing to morale. The other piece of it is your budget. If you have a teacher leave this year and you want to hire someone with the same experience for next year, you're paying more money. So you haven't budgeted more money for anyone who has left, and they will cost more. So, thank you, and I thank our teachers who do a wonderful job.
Thanks. Any other public comment? No?
I just have a kind of a comment about the transportation piece. If there is monies left in transportation, I just want to, I don't know if it's an admin based on what the lines, money lines are, but would the board consider letting teachers use some of that transportation money to support field trip transportation? I know I can talk about third grade alone takes 3 field trips. An example would be when we went to Greenland, New Hampshire this year. The trip itself, for the cost of the trip and transportation, was $14 a child. However, transportation was double the amount of money than it was to go to the place itself, Great Bay. So I'm just kind of putting that in, I guess, context for parents that we're paying more money to go with a bus company to the place than actually going into the place. So to offset, I know the PTA gives us some funds, but those funds don't even cover the cost of a bus to go to some of these places. I know third grade is considering going to Concord. Concord alone is $240 some odd just for the bus ride to go to Concord, but it's going to cost $5 to get into the planetarium, but it's going to really cost the students, parents, about $12 to go due to the cost of the buses. So I'm just, with that money that's left over, if you would just maybe put that into your consideration for teachers to use that money. So, thank you.
Thanks. Any public comment?
I was looking on the website, and I came across this executive skills program, which I found to be an excellent program, and I was just wondering how many parents participated in this program for executive skills. I wish I had checked it earlier. I would have loved to have gone myself.
We had about 50 or 60 people in attendance.
Is that for all three schools, or was that
That was all included.
all included?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Any board members like to take this opportunity to have a public comment? Going, gone. We will close the closing public comment session. Do we have need for a non-public session?
No, I'm going to touch base with Mr. Roning, and I'll get the answers for Tim's questions.
That would be fine.
Sounds good. The only thing we have left to do then is to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Put your name as a second on that.